You don't want to deal with men at all. What's the reason? Mm. When I think about that, I think of the dealings, the interactions, the situations, the relationships, the situationships, the entanglements, all of the things that have given you the experience up to this point. Maybe you have 5 years behind you, 15 years behind you in terms of relationship experience. That's what I mean. Not a 5-year-old. Pause. I'm talking about your dealings with the opposite sex, maybe 6 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever the case may be. And maybe these situations have not been in your favor. And you're thinking, okay, what am I doing wrong? Well, there's always two sides to the story. We understand that. We understand that men have their side, and we've heard it. We've heard it. But then there's the you part, because then you have to think about what type of men are you choosing? What type of men are you choosing? Are you screening these men fully? A full investigation. Okay. Are you using the other side of you to determine whether the situation is favorable? I'm talking about your inner being, because there's two things at work. You have your inner being, all of your senses above and beyond your flesh. And then, of course, you have the real time stuff, questions, eye contact, body posture, all of the cues that tell you whether this situation is good or not. Usually you ignore it. This man's eyes are beautiful. Oh, he's 6'3". Oh, he's got biceps. Oh, you ignore all of the cues that are letting you know that it's unfavorable because of the physical attributes, right? So you overlook the stuff and then you push forward. Next thing you know, it's 8 months later and now you're pissed. No one put a gun to your head and told you that you had to stick in it for 8 months, 2 years, 3 years, year and a half, 3 months. Because technically you can figure out all of these things within month number 1. If you are skilled in your ability to use your inner being, the inner power, plus the common situations of communication, if you're very keen on this, you can get it all figured out in month number 1. So that means you can't ignore those cues. That means you have to pay attention to the things that you normally wouldn't pay attention to. And this is all in the communication. A man who has a clear direction is going to convey this very clearly. It's not going to be broken. There's not going to be any inconsistencies. It's not going to be blah, 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 blah. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be It's not going to be that. It's going to be shoo. It's going to be very straight. Some of it you won't like to hear, though. Remember, men communicate straight. 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 You want to have the type of experience with someone who has a very firm grip on their life. That's what you want. Now, of course, the 6 figures and all of that stuff is great, but then that's not the only piece, because you have a lot of people who are in that position that don't have the communication skills. So that's why that 1 month, you really got to use your senses and use your ability to determine if this is a situation that's going to be favorable for you. There's a process. And a lot of you ladies are not patient with the process. You blow things off. Lack of patience. That's what it is. It's a process, ladies. Now, of course, you've decided, okay, don't want to deal with men because every man that I deal with sucks. Right. Keep in mind, the men you choose. That's the hard part. The men you choose. That's the hard part. See, that realization makes it tough, doesn't it? Because then you sit and you think, damn, I don't know how to choose anybody. Maybe I need to have someone choose for me. But think about it, ladies. You got to choose wisely. I know that's a cliche, but you got to navigate through the process and understand that if there's something that you're looking for in terms of the leadership, firm frame, masculine, one who can make the plans and solve problems, one that never keeps you in the dark. You know what you're getting with this man. Sure, your emotions are all over the place because you're a woman, but you know what you're getting from this man right here because they clearly convey it and they do it very firm. There's no confusion. So you're never in the dark. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Because maybe you don't even know what that's like. So then you got to change your game plan up. Those are the basics. You got to change the type of men that you're looking for, and you got to widen the playing field, because right now your playing field is narrow. Why is your playing field narrow? Because your checklist or your standards are huge. A man's standards are 1, 2, 3. Very simple. A woman's standards, it's like the Nile River. Okay. You know what I mean? It's long. Look at your checklist. Take a look at it. Long list. Check, 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 check. There's so much stuff. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but understand, the longer your checklist is or the higher your standards are, that playing field shrinks up. First, it starts here. You have a wide playing field, but then it shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. And I know you notice it because there's a lot of guys that don't really fit what you really want. You might put up with some stuff. Yeah. Now, when you lower the standards a bit, you begin to widen the playing field, right? How would you lower the standards? What would you take off of the list? Think about it. What would you remove? If you have to remove, you've got 15 things on your list, and there's no man that's fitting all 15 of those things. So how much of that would you remove? Would you remove 5? And which one would you remove? See, these are all the things that you got to do because you got to rewire. Because remember, you're looking for results. And if what you're doing is not giving you the results, then why would you continue to do the same thing? Why would you continue to give your attention to the same types of guys? Why would you continue to open yourself up? Why would you do that? To the particular guys that you do. Look at them. Look at the models. Look at the examples. You have it. You've got 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 15 years of experience. Just look at it. Put it all on the wall. See it. I tend to go in this direction. That's not working. Let me go someplace else. It's that simple. It's not really a complicated thing. And you have to remember to put those choosing signals out there, because the choosing signals will put you in position for those brand new experiences. Even today, even with the internet, social media, blah, 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 the choosing signals will make the difference in your experience. And then you implement the screening process. It's not a complicated thing. Of course, a man would say that. Of course, ladies are like, I get it. But it's a very 1, 2, 3 step process. Stretch out the screening process once you get the selection, right? Or get selected. And look for the cues. Don't ignore the cues. This puts you in the funk all the time because you ignore the cues because he's 6'3". You ignore the cues because of his biceps. You ignore the cues because he has a fat bank account. There's an entire element that's going on. The picture is big. It's like a puzzle piece, like a jigsaw puzzle that you're putting together. It's not the money alone. It's not the figure alone. It's not the masculinity alone. It's not the spirit alone. It's sort of an eclectic gumbo of all of that. That's what it is. And it may be in small fractions on each one. So if you look for small fractions of each one, this man has direction. All right. He's executing his plan. He might not necessarily be there, but he's executing it. Or it might be the guy who's already there. Fair enough. What else? I'm always in the light, never in the dark. He communicates very clearly. All right. And as long as that's consistent, you'll be all right.